I've tried every day for weeks now to get concise, cohesive thoughts put together into like a tight script for this topic. I mean, I wrote, recorded, and edited so many versions of this, yet none of them felt correct. The reason being is they all felt like I was trying to teach you something. So I want to be very clear up front. I am not here to teach you anything. I am here to share a combination of nuanced thoughts that I have regarding how a lot of people, myself included, define success as a music artist, and provide a way to redefine success and reframe that thinking in order to try and cultivate a healthier mindset as a creative. I mean, I can't guarantee that any of my assumptions on how success is viewed speak for everybody. I mean, by all means, if you're an artist and you are comfortable with your current creative process and mindset, hell yes. I am so proud of you. I am so happy. Please do not feel the need to watch this and adopt anything that I'm going to say. Honestly, click off this now. I don't want the chance to influence a structure that you already have and is working for you. I know that those are hard to come by. However, if you're a music artist or a music maker and you feel like you aren't foundationally solid on the way that you're viewing success in music, maybe you've hit that crossroads where you're asking yourself why you do this and you're genuinely considering quitting because nobody cares, then stick around for a bit. Maybe this will be helpful. I'm not going to be able to say anything that already hasn't been said, and this will basically just be my version of make what you want to make and you'll be fine. But instead of saying that as an already successful artist who doesn't have to worry financially ever again, I'm in the struggle as well. And the line of thinking I'm going to talk about today is what I'm choosing to believe in order to help me relieve the pressures and stress from my current music making process. A lot of that pressure coming from years and years of failing to make what I want to make. And up until this past year, that failure consumed most aspects of my everyday life and made it so much harder for me to create anything. In order to change that, I had to look at the root of the problem. And I'm going to bring you through the thought process that I did to examine the root of the problem and the solution for me that I came across from my mindset. I think it'll be helpful to a lot of you. If it's not, okay. In order to change, I went through this line of thinking, and it starts with the categories of music. I'm not talking genre when we talk categories, okay? I'm not trying to get into like the sludge core, swamp lore, like the hyper pop iceberg or whatever the hell. No, I'm talking categories in their simplest form. The way that people label and classify the music that they listen to. Now, there's different words people tend to use for these categories, but the meanings behind the words are usually the same. And the most common labels I see used in music discussion are good, bad, and great. And I'm sure there's others, but whichever labels are used, the usual way to differentiate the categories is based on the level of enjoyability and connection that a listener has with the song. So some people only define it as bad music and good music. So good music is enjoyable and connects with the listener, while bad music doesn't do either. It's very binary and it's pretty easy to work with on a simple level, especially conversationally. There's music you like, that's good music, and there's music you don't, that's bad music. But there's no real room here for the songs that you like but you know don't sound good, or those songs that you don't like but you can appreciate the artistry behind them. It's a way of talking that's really focused on taste. That's why I think a lot of people bring great music into the conversation, and they define good music as something that is enjoyable or connects with the listener. Great music is something that does both, and bad music fails to do either. So in this definition, bad music is still the music that you don't like and you don't appreciate. Good music is now expanded to any music you enjoy, no matter if it sounds good or not, and any music you may not enjoy but you do appreciate artistically. It's still a matter of taste as a listener, but it leaves room for appreciation even when the enjoyability or connection isn't there. It's the, I see what you're saying, it's just not for me. Level of thinking. Great music is a special title held for your absolute favorites, the ones that sound great and connect with you. I'm gonna get back to these terms later. This current definition is defined by the listener, and I don't think that's helpful to keep in mind when you're in a creative process. How do we interact with these definitions as creatives? Just off rip, your music is getting placed into one of these three categories. There's no other place for it to be, right? They cover everything. So naturally, of course, you want to make what's in the best category. You want it to be great. At the very least, it can be good, but it definitely can't be bad. Because if it's bad, why would you make it, let alone share it with anybody? If you're sharing bad music with people, they may think that you think it's good. And that's embarrassing. That doesn't just speak to your music, that speaks to your taste. It shows some sort of flaw in you. It could show that you're so full of yourself that you think everything you do is amazing. So you can't realize that you make terrible things. Or you could enjoy bad music, so you make bad music. And they'll just think that you don't have any good taste. They think that the deep, honest expression that you carefully spent so much time crafting is actually just a combination of all the bullshit cliches you absorbed through other people's creations, and you aren't talented enough to put them together in any way that deserves unique attention or praise. That list could go on for forever. Regardless, if you were to make bad music, release it, and then take pride in it, it may feel like it largely speaks badly about you as a person, or at the very least as a creative. There's a lot of outside pressure that comes with releasing bad music in this definition. So you can't release bad music unless you're like in on the joke, but I would label that as comedy music. And if you make bad music with the purpose of making bad music, like if that was your goal, then you succeeded, so it can't be bad music. Whatever. So with that in mind, you feel like rationally, you should only try to make good or great music. So a good thing for you to do should be to build the skills that help you make good or great music, integrate them into your creative process, and to strive for a future where you have those skills so you're able to make that music consistently. Because once you do that, then you could share it with people and they can like it, and that'll mean that you're a good musician. That'll mean that you're a success in music. Let's talk about success. Through this thinking, success is making stuff that's good or great and having people appreciate it. Well, what's good or great? All right, okay, so that's music that's at least enjoyed or connected with, but ideally, both. So the idea of success in music is making something that sticks with the listener, something that gives them a reason to listen. It makes it feel like listening to your music was worth the time they spent with it. Now, this is painting with broad strokes. There are so many different ways that artists can define success. I want to be very clear. People have success in their minds as being ultra famous. There are people who just want consistent fans and tours. It could be just having an income from making music. It could even just be making music that you want and having friends that you can share it to who will interact with it, right? There are so many ways to define success in music for yourself. I heavily encourage anyone making music to take the time and effort to sort out what success means to you. Because, well, honestly, successes as well, because there's multiple futures you'd be happy in, you just may not be aware of them. Success is often what defines your goals. It points you in the direction you'd like to go towards for anything that you do. And your definition of success will inform your decision-making process and influence everything you make. If your goal is not even to make any income off of music, you start at your goal. Unless you're trying to gain celebrity, but I will also say that celebrity is another form of income, whatever. But if your goals lie somewhere in between the, I would like to have this as a source of financial income in my life, all the way to like, I want to be a mega pop star, make a bunch of money, be really famous, then your success is directly tied with the financial assurance that your efforts are worth the time you put into them. And metrically, in order to build that assurance, you need a good amount of attention and validation from your listeners. Because once you have that financial backing, you can ideally spend more of your time focusing on making more music for more people so that more people will find you and then they'll like it, and then you can make even more music for even more people, and you found an infinite money glitch, baby. Woo, 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 woo. Money makes music, money go to bills, and you more time for music. Woo, yeah. But this mindset, which is I've personally seen to be a fairly common definition of success, is dependent on having people that listen to you, and in turn, the money that comes from them and everything affiliated with it. So it's imperative that you are creating, to some extent, with them in mind. By the way, an audience is not a set group of people. It is an ever-changing, influx and outflux of people. You cannot target everybody, right? Even if you don't want to be a front-facing music artist, maybe you're a producer trying to do a bunch of work behind the scenes, right? Or even just you want to make a second income stream off of producing music. You need to do something that sets you apart from everyone else that is trying to do what you do. The point is, success gets muddy and difficult and weird when money gets involved, because money is powerful. Shocker. Ooh. Money is the key to you being able to continue to create and to be able to make the full extent of what you want, which I think is another part of success, the fully realized artistic potential, which I'm going to call FRAP, because I'm going to start saying it a lot and I don't want to say those words. So your FRAP is amazing. It's the absolute perfect context for your art to live in, right? Because your ideas exist in a space that is only bounded by your imagination. So your frap is almost infinite. But the real world, where you want your ideas to exist, is heavily bounded by many, many things outside of your control. A lot of which could be in control if you got the money, which you're hoping to get through your music in order for you to make your frap. So now there's these 4 areas of success, right? There's doing music as a job. There's achieving your fully realized artistic potential. There's having an audience that connects with your music. And there's gaining the skills you have to make you a good or great musician. Of course, there are many other things outside of this that you can define as success for yourself. And honestly, success for you can mean having one of these 4. And in these 4 areas of success, there seems to even be some sort of hierarchy where the highest level of success is just doing music as a job. And maybe number 2 is achieving your artistic potential. Number 3 is having an audience that connects with you. And number 4 is gaining the skills, right? To be fair, you can only have one of these 4 criteria, and that can mean success to you. It can be your whole definition of succeeding, and that's great. Not everybody's going to want all of these things. But if you feel you do, like I feel I do, then you may also have this inherent idea that there are some of these successes that are better than the others. That's a current view that I believe is common in regards to success in music. But you can't have success, of course, without failure. What is failure in this mindset, right? Well, failure is not succeeding. So if your music is not reaching those parts of success that you want, music is a job, your frap, an audience that connects with your music, or gaining skills to make you a better musician, well, then you must be a failure. In this current mindset of success, most music artists are failures. Most of them do not make income off their music. And you can watch countless videos and read so many articles about how touring usually loses an artist money. Failure becomes so easy to achieve simply because those 4 pillars of success, which do not necessarily lead to each other. And there's plenty of examples of artists who only fit some of these criteria and not others. There's people who do music as a job, but they're not creatively fulfilled. There's people who have the skills and they're fully realizing their artistic potential, but they have no audience and no money. Since success is all of these endpoints, failure is impossible to avoid in this view. Matter of fact, the second that you realize you want to succeed is the same moment that you become a failure. You are starting at a deficit. You are starting as a nobody. And the goal is to get out of the hole. Now, if you're following along and this still feels somewhat cohesive or relatable to you, great. Personally, when I'm saying it, I have no idea what the fuck's going on right now. I don't know if this makes any sense, and I hope that when I'm editing, it does. But if you are following along and you feel like you relate to this idea, you feel like these ideas of success and failure are currently in your creative process, I want you to pay close attention to the next sections, because these are what took me the longest time to break down and rearrange. This is where the redefining begins. Of course, I want to start with the why. Why redefine these ideas of success and failure and good and great and bad? It's because I think all of what I just said, all of those categories, the good, the great, the bad, the success, and the failure, I think that is all such bullshit to believe in. Well, why is it harmful? I mean, it doesn't seem that different from anything else. It's basically just a mirror of how all structures in our capitalist society work. Now, if you don't start with money, you gotta build your way up and out of the hole you're born into. It's not an even playing field, and you gotta fight for yourself. Whatever the fuck. All the issues with that, the competitiveness, the hyper-individualism, the stress, the pick yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, have no place in the creative process. And now I want to be clear. All these things exist in the music industry. Hell, even on the independent side of things where there really isn't an industry. When there is money involved, the structures of capitalism become harder to free yourself from without it being at a cost to your livelihood. There is hardly any place that anyone can escape from these structures, even for just a little bit. Failing with this current definition means that your creative process fails at creating a supply that there is demand for. It is bad business. That is what you're defining failure as. And I feel like I shouldn't have to say why that's harmful, but I will. The creation of art is not a business. everything else around it can be if you desire. But the process of creating itself is so hugely stressful if it has to live up to the definition of success set by a business mindset. Yet, that becomes a default for so many music artists. I mean, you could see it in any vent channel on any music discords, or r/we are the music makers, or talking to any artists at your local open mic, or anywhere artists are and are speaking. You can see these assumptions of success creep in and corrupt a creative process. This is where the doubts begin to really take over, that nobody cares. Why am I making this? I'm not good enough. I should just give up. That's where those thoughts pop in. And you can have those thoughts while you're operating on the business side of your music, while you're trying to make money, while you're trying to do all these things. I think those thoughts are fine. They're healthy. They're normal. Those are ways that you can evaluate your product and shape your business model and all that shit. But having them in your process, when you are no longer the business person, you are the art maker, is going to fully corrupt what you do. It can make you so stressed that you don't make anything. It could have you make decisions in order to make your music sound a specific way that you think more people would enjoy. It could have you work on projects for hours and hours and hours until you hit a roadblock, and then you give up on it because it didn't sound good. And a whole bunch of other things, right? This business mindset infesting the creative process is what I really believe to be the cause of most mindset issues in music artists. I see it all the time, especially in myself. I've spent years, and I mean years, letting these pressures overwhelm me and stop me from making things. I started writing lyrics in 2016. I didn't release a project until 2021, mainly because I didn't make any music that I would listen to. Everything I did for those 5 years just felt wrong, and I didn't know why. And sure, a lot of it was growing pains as an artist and trying to get all the bad music out of me so I can gain experience and practice and all that. But it took me so long to get comfortable creating as myself when, looking back, I could be making what I make now years ago. Which, by the way, what I make now, fucking sick. The reason why I didn't is because I believed in this definition of success and failure. I believed in these categories of music. I took the mindset of a music consumer and let it be the mindset of me as a music creator. So when I was making things, I wasn't listening with artist ears. I was listening with audience ears. So instead of hearing what I could make the song into, I was overwhelmed by hearing what it already wasn't and what it already couldn't be. And so that pressure to succeed became so overwhelming because it made every decision feel like it was just so important. And I know that I'm someone who's prone to this. A lot of the metrics of success in early life came very easy to me. In the academics, but also gaining most new skills was not difficult. By the time I was 16, I had good friends. I was improving in a sport I'd never done before. School was easy. I was really good at extracurriculars, and I generally didn't really have to try. No decision that I made really mattered because I knew that as long as I showed up, and I kept showing up, I would probably be more than good enough at what I was doing. This was not the case for me with music, so the inexperience I had when it came to trying to push through something when it didn't come easy definitely hurt me as well. But I also know that that's a lot of other people. Mindset is not the only contributing factor to having a stressful music making process, but it is a huge one, and rarely do we ever get a chance to decide what our mindset is before we start creating. It's a bunch of preconceived notions that happen over time when you interact with music, so unless you have experience creating from a young age or some sort of mentor who was able to shape the way you think early on, the only way for you to think about creating music is from the perspective of the listener. It would be really easy for me to say that you have to change your creative mindset to one where you don't care about money or other people's enjoyment in order to have a healthier relationship with creating. And I could end the video right now, smug as hell, and you couldn't tell me I was wrong because technically I'm not. I'm saying what you should do, but I'm not telling you how. I mean, if you could just change, then you wouldn't be feeling stuck. That's not practical advice. The thing that I hear the most often is to embrace failure and don't worry about money or if people like it. Just keep doing you. As long as you like it, that's enough. But that doesn't take the pressure away. If anything, it makes you feel like more of a failure because no matter how much you try, you can't only care about what you make. You care too much about what other people think of you. So you either gotta quit or push through. Fuck all that. So let's look at a practical thing to implement. I am the test dummy for this. I have been using this for me, and it has been helpful. Doesn't mean it's been perfect, but it has been helpful. Remember when I said I want to talk about good, great, and bad? Good music, great music, bad music. This is where I want to change shit. If you want to change your mindset as a music maker, I think the best way to do that is to change it as a music listener. Let's redefine what the categories of music are. That way, we can redefine failure and success. This is the graphic part. Fuck, okay. So right now we have this circle. I'm gonna put a circle somewhere, probably, which is all the good and great music that has ever been made. So the great stuff is the best stuff that's in the middle in black, and the good stuff is the stuff that's all around it in purple. As you can see, there is way more good music than there is great music. And as you create, you want to aim for the great. And if you miss, hopefully it'll be good, which is unlikely because when you zoom out, this whole white area is all of the bad music. It makes good and great a really hard target to hit. You gotta get really precise. You gotta get extremely skilled in order to hit that most of the time. And even then, there's no guarantee, right? This is how I view the listener mindset. A board that you're throwing shit at, and as you gain skills, you become more and more accurate with what you do, right? And even if that doesn't work for you, you can view it as a mountain. You can view it as a bunch of bad, some good, very few great. But the progression is bad to good to great. I think that is so wrong. It fills you with a bunch of incorrect assumptions, mainly that the order you make music in is bad, then good, then great, and then you should gain skills in that order. Gain the skills to get you from bad to good, and then gain the skills to get you from good to great. I think that's wrong. This circle here is all the music that's ever been made. The outside of the circle is all the potential music that can be made. Now, where do good, great, and bad music fit on here? Well, they'd all be inside the circle of all music with their current definitions, right? With bad music filling it up most of the way, and there are certain dots of good and great that are in there, but honestly, they're mostly imperceptible. That's how it would be if you kept the mindset of a music listener, but we're not doing that. So, to change the mindset, we have to redefine what good, great, and bad music is to a music maker. Now, there are two criteria: enjoyability and connection. People enjoy listening to it, and does it have an impact on the listener? I'd like to change those to entertainment and originality. You can create music that is made to be sonically entertaining, and you can create music that is a means of expressing authentically. To be fair, you're almost always doing both. It'd be really hard to do one without some bit of the other. I think good music leads with the attempt to be sonically entertaining, and great music leads with the attempt of expressing yourself authentically. So if you're making something to be sonically entertaining, aka something that sounds good, you have a constraint. You only know it sounds good based off of existing music, so you're going to make things that sound like existing music. And sure, you may have your ears as your own guide, but you're pulling from existing structures in order to make something more enjoyable. Now, I want to say again that you're almost always doing both of these. So good music is going to be all in this circle right here. If you're making something out of expressing authentically, you don't have to make it sound good. You're able to be off exploring a little bit more in that all potential music category. And of course, it's extremely hard to make anything that is so far out there that it doesn't sound influenced by any existing music. Now, going back to this circle of all potential music and all music gets expanded when new ideas are added. Basically, when someone approaches music with a bit of authenticity, it expands the circle of all known music. Since there is no standard to meet here, there's no listener to judge whether or not the quality is high enough to be good or great. That means that it all is. So the inner circle, all of it's good music. And so the area of all potential music is great music. All of it. All of it, 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 all of it. Except for this one little circle right here. This one gray dot. So this is music where the expression is pure evil and hatred. And I'm not talking shock rap type shit or like Last Caress by Metallica. I'm talking hate speech. Like genuine desire to commit a genocide, incel core type shit. This is the awful category. Now, why does this circle exist? Because it's my thinking. I can do what I want with it. And I want to allow people a place to put the rare bits of music that they don't want to extend any shred of sympathy towards. And I never want to even accidentally have anyone who makes any of that music believe that I think they make something good or great. You don't. Fuck you. Everything else, either good or great. Doesn't mean it actually isn't good. Doesn't mean that it is actually authentic. It can be cliche. Self-expression could be flawed and overdone. It could be boring. It could be harsh. It could be repetitive, uninteresting, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's all good or great. If you are making music that is mostly focused on using what we currently know to be entertaining, that is good music. If you are trying to find a way to authentically express yourself, you are the only you. So you are making music that only you can make. So you are expanding into that all potential music category, and everything there is great. Okay, well, if it's all good and great with the exception of the fucking awful, where's the bad music? There's two possible ways to look at that. Pick one that works for you. Option one, since all music has to lead with either sonic entertainment or self-expression, it will always only be good or great, and bad music no longer exists, except for the awful music. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Or option two, which is what I like. Bad music is still defined by the listener. So bad music is still this, right? Bad music is everything I don't enjoy or connect with. And well, if you overlay that for everybody who's ever listened to music, well, there's only one album left that isn't bad, and it's nope, they're all bad. Bad's going to be defined by the listener regardless. You will never escape it. So you can either delete it or embrace it. Everything you make is going to be bad to somebody, and that's fine. That's awesome, actually. It's a testament to the wide range of human taste in music. It's also always good or great as well. So what does that mean for success? I think it allows success to be the same. In order to succeed creatively, your creative process has to make good or great music, and you already are. So by being in the creative process, you are successful. Well, what does that mean for failure? Well, you could only fail if you're not helping your creative process. And that doesn't mean you have to be making things all the time. So much of the creative process is outside of creating music, right? You have to take care of yourself so you can create. You got to create opportunities to be inspired. You got to find the joy in your life. You have to know how to relax when you're burnt out, etc. So as long as you're taking care of and growing your creative machine in any way, shape, or form, then you are succeeding. Now, I know this is very broad, and it'd be very easy to say that there's no way to fail here, and you can walk away from this feeling great and have this mentality as a reason to explain to yourself why you're still a music artist even though you haven't made something in like 3 years. Maybe you needed a 3-year break and it's growing your creative machine. Maybe that's true. I can't say it's not. But because success is possible, so is failure. Success here is fairly easy. Failure should be very hard, but it is still possible. You have to care about creating in order to succeed. In fact, that's really the only thing you have to do is care. You still have to make music when you want to and are able to. If you never find yourself in that scenario, explore that, because success would be addressing this thing that is stopping you from creating. It doesn't mean that the answer is just ignoring it and trying to create things when you don't care. The answer could be taking a long break. It could be making a time and space in your schedule for it. It could be practicing ways to find creative inspiration in your life. It could be listening to a bunch of music. It can be anything as long as you are honest to yourself. A lot of the ways to care about creating are caring about yourself, and that shit is hard. There are a million things to tackle at once, and I'm not saying that you are a failure if you're not fixing every area of your life before you create. You will literally never be able to do that. But focus on one thing you can improve and do that. I'm saying that you can fail, but only if you consistently choose to not act and to deprioritize the things that you know will help you and your creative machine. It's building bad habits, it's procrastination, it's putting off projects, it's doing any of that, knowing why you do it, having the power to change it, and deciding to still not change it at all. That is failure. And to be honest, there are going to be some moments where you don't make the best decisions for yourself, and you do fail a bit. Even in this easily achievable idea of success, you can still fail. You still probably will fail. You don't create when you're inspired because you're caught in a loop of watching TikToks. You know what happens? It's okay. Failure here does not take away your chances to succeed. Failure here is not a hole that you start in. In this mindset, you start on the ground that you used to call success. You look up and there's a whole sky full of stars above you. And baby, you got wings. Go fly, go explore, go play, go create. Even then, with wings and an infinite sky, you'll have to land and rest, but you'll still be on the grounds of success, just fueling up to when you'll go again. But you gotta fuel up. Failure here is choosing to not fuel up. Failure here is choosing to go into the hole, knowing that you can get out of it whenever you want. Metaphor gone now, because I was kind of losing it, but I think failure is often a way to protect our egos and our pride. In this mindset, everything you make is either good or great, and it can also be bad depending on what you choose. But that doesn't mean that what you make is the music you want to make. It can feel hard to have these good ideas in your head when your execution doesn't match. And the only way through that is to keep creating and to keep building and refining your creative machine so that you're able to more consistently get your ideas out accurately. You'll never make exactly what you want 100% of the time, but you can get good enough to where you like most of what you make. And I think this mindset shift can help you gain comfort with not worrying about the subjective quality of your music, so you can do the work you need to do. You can make what you need to make that will get you to the point where you know how to make what you like. I mean, even the best artists are allowed to make things that are kind of shit, and it can be fun. A bunch of them do. But if we hold on to subjectivity a bit too much, we may have behaviors that we know are failing us creatively, just so that we can blame it on them instead of our lack of ability to deal with creative frustration. Personally, unfortunately, I know multiple music artists who do this. They use this self-prescribed failure as a way to protect their pride because they're not ready or willing to endure the whole range of human emotions that comes with the creative process and the challenge that is not being able to make what you want to make. That is hard. But if you're failing in this very broad and accepting mindset, it doesn't mean that you can't succeed. You always can. Just be honest with yourself and let your taste and instinct be your guide. And you're succeeding as long as you're doing things that allow you and enable you and nurture the ways that you care about creating. That's all I gotta say. Hope this was helpful. It's the mindset I want to implement for myself in my creative process. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Toodles.